Welcome to Live from HCIC 2023, a podcast series bringing you front row insights from the industry's brightest minds. In this 12-part series, we delve into the heart of the trends impacting health systems with leading experts, senior executives, and thought leaders, as recorded live at the Healthcare Internet Conference in November of 2023. This series is brought to you by Greystone, Bowstring Media, and Touchpoint Media. Listen in as we hear from our industry leaders on the latest innovative strategies and efforts that are shaping our space. Okay, we're recording here live at HCIC in the expo hall, so don't mind all the background noise. There's a lot of hubbub going on. But I am delighted to be here with a good friend, someone that I have known for a very long time, and you and I have talked before, and I'm excited that you're on the show today because you presented here at HCIC. James Gardner, welcome to the show.
Oh, Chris, I appreciate the kind words. And you're right, you are a dear friend, and I've known you for years, and I have so much respect for you and your contributions to healthcare marketing.
Well, likewise, right? And so, and today I want to get into some of the things you talked about here, which is really kind of top of mind to people here. But before we do, some people maybe watching us or listening in right now that don't know about you, and this is your opportunity to shine. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
So, Chris, I'm old, and I've done a lot of things. But I do consider myself a lifelong sales and marketing professional. Mm-hmm. If you're picking up a Canadian accent, it's because I was born and raised in Toronto and started my career with Procter & Gamble. Mm-hmm. So the nuts and bolts of all the products that are in your laundry room and in your bathroom and in your kitchen. Yeah, so great consumer marketing organization. I jumped across the border and went to MBA school at Northwestern in Chicago and stayed on and lived there for years while doing strategy consulting at McKinsey. And then my wife's career took us to Boston, and I fell into the agency world, more and more working with health systems and helping them jump into the digital world because there's so many opportunities to catapult the patient experience forward with smart use of websites and digital marketing tools.
All the different digital tools that are there. And honestly, sometimes it feels like technology comes upon us a lot quicker than we're ready for it. And today, the focus of what we're going to be talking about, which is what you spoke about today,
correct,
is one of those tools, one of those technologies, which is artificial intelligence. We have to say it. I mean, every 15 minutes, we have to say artificial intelligence.
Doesn't it seem that way?
It seems that way. But I mean, you have a perspective on this, right? And in particular, generative AI, which is a particular flavor of artificial intelligence and how it can be used in marketing and communications. But before we jump into some examples that you have and tips and all that, talk to me about how CMO or someone that's sitting in a marketing communication suite should be considering and looking at this technology, particularly those who may not know exactly what it all is about.
So I recommend you approach it with a balance of excitement, curiosity, delight at the newness of generative AI and its potential. But that has to be calibrated and balanced with the potential pitfalls, which are real. ChatGPT, as amazing as it is, it's still less than a year old, and it's evolving so quickly. And there's capabilities that are exciting, but there's also risks, problems, things that an astute chief marketing officer or chief legal officer, they're going to be thinking about.
Right.
So yes, finding that balance, which is what Danny and I explored today, can lead to some really exciting breakthroughs for healthcare marketers to get more done, right? Because we're all trying to do more with less. And that was the focus of our presentation today. Was tools using generative AI that will help you get more work done, do it more effectively, be more productive, add organizational capabilities in a world where it seems like our resources are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking.
Yeah. I mean, the incredible productivity capabilities of AI to a marketing communications professional is significant and profound. But, I kind of harken back a little bit when there's all this buzz around AI. I remember this, you probably do too. Flashback 10, 12 years, 15 years ago, social media was like the same thing. Everybody was like, we got to do social media. It suddenly was like on everybody's, tongues when they were talking about, we got to do social media. And I think that what happened is that we in health systems, we kind of approached it a little bit cautiously. I was kind of one of those people that kind of helped advocate for it. We approached it a little cautiously. But at the time, there wasn't really this appetite for a little bit of like, try it out, test it. It was like either you're all in or you're all out.
Oh, interesting.
And so with AI now,
I think what you're saying is you have to have a little bit of this trial, this little bit of testing. Am I categorizing that?
I think that's right. We shared a framework which might be helpful for people as they think about how to get started with generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a matrix, if you will, looking at the need for accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're giving medical advice or you're doing drug discovery, obviously your need for accuracy is extremely high. We get that. But there's a world of other things where you're perhaps ideating tweets or titles for an article where accuracy is not mission critical.
Right.
You're going to get 10 results and you'll probably end up tinkering and adapting one of them and going forward with it. So there was that. And then there was the complexity of the task. And where we pointed the audience today was focus on that intersection of low to modest need for accuracy and low to medium complexity. Don't be trying to give patient advice. Don't be trying to navigate HIPAA and whatnot.
Right.
Focus on the low-hanging fruit. Use that trite phrase.
Yeah.
And there's a world of tools that I think deliver on that promise of getting more done. Yeah.
Right.
Adding capability, moving faster.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, we left the audience with a message. You got to be trying these tools.
You got to be trying them.
You got to be trying.
So this quadrant, right? I envision this as a quadrant, right? Yeah. Where you have the need for accuracy and the complexity of the task. You want to focus on that one quadrant where it's kind of safe grounds to try out at that point in time, right?
Yes.
These tools you just mentioned, they're new. They're relatively new. Bard, ChatGPT, these things are not even a year old.
Exactly. And we all know the pace of innovation. It's incredible. Less than a year old. OpenAI actually had its developer conference yesterday, and they announced yet more capabilities, more functionality. So it's like accelerating at a dizzying speed. But we need to get at least a toehold and be innovating and perhaps leading our organizations in easy opportunities to take advantage of these tools.
Right. And so let's talk about some of those opportunities as you've identified, because I know you kind of have in the back of your mind where you actually have a list of some things that can be really well applied today that are low risk, high reward.
Yeah. So that was the title of our presentation, is Unleashing Generative AI, 10 plus practical applications for healthcare marketers. So that promise of practical advice that's actionable, that hopefully the audience can take back, navigate any compliance challenges. But I think, truth be told, a lot of these tools, the compliance team wouldn't even have a question about it.
Right.
So let's talk about some of the specific ones. One that I was very excited about was Grammarly Go. So we did a survey of our audience, like over 80% of them were familiar with Grammarly.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. It's a Chrome extension. It's a Safari extension. It's also a desktop app that all of us have been using for years to improve the clarity of our writing. Not just spelling, but also grammar, syntax, even tone. But they've added a suite of generative AI capabilities, which I think would excite anyone that finds themselves writing a lot of emails, which that's almost a job description of a healthcare marketer. Yes. What do you do? I write emails and I respond to emails.
And go to meetings.
Yes, exactly. Also, if you're doing LinkedIn posts, if you're any task that involves writing, which is like the job description for so many of us, Grammarly is like a very familiar tool. It's integrated into our workflows, whether you're using Gmail or LinkedIn. You're familiar with that green button that tells you I can improve your writing. But the AI capabilities are pretty exciting in that it will, based on a prompt, generate like a half-decent starting point for an email. So that's not magic.
I like how you position that too, right? It's a starting point.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not just don't copy and paste.
No.
Right? This is the part where a human invention still matters.
Absolutely. It's a co-pilot. It's an assistant. It's like your young intern or whatever metaphor you want to use. You would never trust your intern to write your emails for you.
That's right.
But if you ask, could you bring me a first draft based on your expertise in writing and whatnot?
Right.
So yeah, it'll generate like based on the prompt, a first draft of an email. But then it's got the ability to make this more assertive, make it more humorous, change the tone, make it more professional. Like it's got that intelligence that allows you to, I think, craft a really good email, again, with your input. I think it's a great one, kind of exciting. Likewise with LinkedIn, it will help craft pretty strong LinkedIn posts with the opportunity to have it like suggest emojis and hashtags.
And all these things that make your LinkedIn post have much more reach when it's out there, right? I mean, because LinkedIn has suddenly become this like new language that falls, right?
And there's an art to good LinkedIn posts.
There is.
So yeah, you can make them shorter, make them longer, make them funnier.
Yeah.
And what is also exciting is it has the ability to learn your personal style of writing over time. Because that's always a concern. You want to maintain the authenticity of your messages. And of course, you're editing its work in the first place. But the ability for it to learn and deliver even more on-brand emails or LinkedIn posts or other communications,
right?
I think that's pretty exciting.
That's great. And because it's Grammarly and you've been using it for a long time, it kind of already knows how you write, right? And that's the trick here too. Now, don't be alarmed. I mean, obviously, it's an open platform, so they're taking that information to help their large learning models on the back end. But still, it's more familiar with your tone, your voice, and that's the important piece here. Because I was talking with another person that said, that if you could get AI to learn your organization's tone and voice, you could supercharge things, right?
I think that's like the next frontier.
Yeah.
Yes, delivering content back to us that's on brand, on message for ourselves or for our organization. That's an even greater accelerator than just a first draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's one of them. Yep. We probably won't have time to hit all 10, but what are some other ones that maybe we should...
Well, another one that I think we had a lot of fun with was the Zoom AI companion.
Yes.
Yeah, Zoom, our best friend, our worst friend, right? We all got through the pandemic knowing more about Zoom than we wanted to know.
Right.
But they've added some AI capabilities, which I also find exciting. Like, who likes taking notes in a meeting?
Exactly.
Not me.
Not me.
And it's traditionally delegated to the low person.
The low person, yeah.
And
you're a note taker today.
Yeah, it's a thankless job. So transcripts, that's like a kind of a no-brainer. And Zoom and other tools have a really strong capability of developing a set of transcripts, time-stamped, searchable, so that at the end of the meeting, you've at least got documentation of what was discussed, which is certainly better than no notes at all, right? We don't want to leave meetings with no documentation of what we agreed to. But there's more functionality, which is both funny, but also, I think, pretty remarkable. One is called Catch Me Up. So imagine you join a meeting 10 or 15 minutes late.
Yeah.
I've never done it. You've probably never done it.
Never.
But I know of people that run late sometimes. And how cool would it be to ask Zoom, catch me up? Quickly, a summary of what's been discussed. But beyond that, has my name been mentioned? Have I been assigned tasks in this meeting?
Love it.
Were there decisions made that I need to be aware of? And it has the intelligence to parse through the discussion and feed you back privately. Yeah, Chris, you've been assigned 3 tasks by your boss.
Right, exactly.
You better pay attention to this.
And no more of this, like, I'm sorry I joined late, can you catch me up?
Yeah.
Now you have it. You have the catch-up component here.
Yeah, and even if you step away because you get distracted or you lose focus for 5 or 10 minutes while you grab lunch, like who's done that on a Zoom call?
No one's gone on.
Not me.
No one's gone turn off their video to eat lunch.
Yeah, but I've heard of such people. So I like that. I also love the ability for it to create a really accurate summary at the end of a call,
right?
Which is related to a transcript, but you don't necessarily want to comb through the transcripts of an hour-long Zoom call. But if you could distill that down to a really tight capture, here's what was discussed. And I shared an example of a Zoom call I had with my daughter, and the summary was remarkably astute about our discussion about the Bruins and why they'd lost the previous evening. And it was not an easy conversation to make sense of because we were back and forth. We were talking over top of each other. And yet the summary was remarkably crisp and clear.
And the summary provides you also action items that you talked about.
Exactly.
It documents the things that you've agreed to, and it even puts timestamps to when that agreement happened.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing that I found really powerful about these. By the way, Teams has one too, the Office 365 tool. And there's also third-party tools that you can use for this. But that's an incredible use case of AI to help you be more productive.
Yes. I don't think anyone would deny, like, meetings are horribly unproductive and ineffective. This has the promise of, like, at least a summary and documentation of here's what we agreed to do.
Right. It's almost like you can, if it gets good enough, you could just send that along without you. Anyway.
I like that thinking.
That's not a tip, folks. That's just something I was thinking about.
And Chris, you do make a good point. These are not endorsements on my part of these tools.
Yeah.
We encourage the group. First of all, these are just thought starters and ideas of what's possible and what's out there. There are alternative tools. If there's any concerns, you got to discuss this with your legal compliance team. For the most part, we think they're pretty low risk, but you never know what you don't know.
So what about this other, what about like, I wrote a blog post. Now I want to create a Facebook post and a tweet about it and all that. That's another good use case, right?
Absolutely. That's like I think a classic use case for ChatGPT. Which, by the way, we encourage people, make the investment in the paid version of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Many people have disappointing experiences with the free version because the content is stale.
Yeah.
The functionality is limited. The privacy controls are weak. It's a good place to experiment with training wheels. But for $20 a month, go pro. You'll get access to more privacy controls, which your compliance team will love. But you also get plugins and extensions and a more current body of knowledge that it's been trained on. So make that investment. Then, take advantage of some of the use cases that you're hinting at.
Right.
And some of the use cases that we shared of rewriting content to make it more accessible for low literacy readers.
Oh, wow. That's a great one.
That's a classic problem.
Yeah.
And you know this better than I, Chris, but a lot of our service line content is written by clinicians.
Right.
And they knowingly or unknowingly are writing for a college graduate. And our challenge is make it accessible to the average 6th grade reader. Because that's where, sadly, a lot of Americans are.
And, even in like the tools like ChatGPT and Bard and all these other free tools, or I use the paid version of ChatGPT, you can create those rules in it. So you could say, anything you provide back to me, write it at this reading comprehension level.
That's a great point.
Right? And so that way you don't have to kind of prompt it. I mean, it's with these tools, it's a little bit of prompt and it's a whole lot of like the rule sets that you want to have behind it. And so that makes it so that you can get accessibility.
Yeah, that's a good pro tip. Thank you.
Right. And I would also say, and talk a little bit about like how these tools are being used for translation purposes.
Oh, well, two forms of translation. Danny pointed out you can do software code translation.
Yep.
Java to Python. And I didn't completely understand that, but it sounded really powerful. And we had some heads nodding in the audience that, yes, that is a real problem. And to be able to do that more efficiently would be super powerful for some of our developers. But I think the use case you're more directly hinting at is language translation. We all have multicultural audiences, and it's a struggle, as you know, to create blog posts, articles, newsletters, even internal communications that reflect the diversity of our communities. And ChatGPT is remarkably adept at translating not just into Spanish, and this was a point that we made in our presentation, because Spanish is not a thing. There's many dialects of Spanish.
Right.
What's spoken in Venezuela is different than what's spoken in Mexico. Subtly, but enough that a native reader will recognize that this doesn't sound right. So if your community has a preponderance of Venezuelan Hispanic speakers, ChatGPT with a good prompt can help you translate content such that at least you're going to get hopefully a local reader or a translator in your team or a staff member to eyeball it, but you're 90% of the way there, maybe 95% of the way there.
Right. Now, again, always have human intervention here.
I can't speak that enough.
Yeah, I mean, in particular when you're getting into translations, because there's cultural aspects here too, right? It's not just translating word for word.
Absolutely.
And we face that too when we were looking at Google Translate and these other earlier levels of tools.
Yes.
To do that, you have to have that human intervention. I think that's the big thing here, right? These are tools that allow you to be productive, but they're not really like taking away your jobs.
No.
They're there to make you more productive in your role. Is that fair?
Absolutely. The amount of work that's out there is endless.
Yeah.
Endless. So doing work faster just allows us to do more, but the end of the work that needs to be done is never in sight.
Yeah.
So no, I don't, we made that point pretty directly that as you bring generative AI into your organization, don't think of it as a tool for headcount reduction or cost cutting. First of all, you're going to get resistance.
Yeah.
You're going to get anxiety. But the larger point is it's productivity enhancer.
Yeah.
It's adding capability like language translation that maybe you don't have inside your organization.
Right.
And this is a tool to at least get you there.
Yeah.
So you're adding capability to better serve your patient.
Yeah. I mean, and that's at the end of the day, that's what anytime a new tool, technology, widget, whatever comes around for a marketing communications professional, you have to start evaluating in that kind of case, in that sense, right? Of like, it's about productivity. You have to understand what use cases you're going to be using it for. try it out, see how it works. Sometimes it'll work for you, sometimes it won't. And your organization is unique and different, right? And that's the thing. You have to figure out what's the right thing for you.
What's going to work for us?
Yeah.
Well said.
Well,
You should have delivered the presentation.
no. You and Danny Fell, who co-presented with you, did a really great job. And I think, that's the thing that most of us in the marketing communication suite, we think about it sometimes with these things that come on so rapidly, we get nervous about them. And really, it's not here to, sure. Developers have said ChatGPT is, generative AI is moving much faster than we can think about. But, in many cases, it's not really as ominous and scary as you think, right?
By nature, Chris, I'm a glass half full person.
Yeah.
So yes, I see the opportunity, again, do our jobs better.
Yeah.
And that excites me. And yes, balance with caution and apprehension and skepticism as
Right.
anything moving this quickly and this disruptively should be. But on balance, I'm still excited.
Yeah.
If your listeners are interested, find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to share a copy of the presentation and continue the conversation.
Absolutely. Well, James, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you spending a few minutes with me.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching live from HCIC 2023. We hope these insights have sparked new ideas and conversations. A special thanks to the industry experts featured on our show, and to Greystone, Bowstring Media, and Touchpoint Media for making these discussions available. For more episodes and exclusive content, please visit Greystone.Net, Touchpoint.health, or subscribe through your favorite podcast listening platform. If you want to be part of more conversations like this one, please make sure to attend the Healthcare Internet Conference in Austin, Texas. You can find more details at hcic.net.